All right, let's go fix the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
Draft Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson. Wow. There's more than just Chris Sims who believes Zach Wilson's the top quarterback in the draft.
Yeah. To be fair, PFF grading doesn't necessarily disagree either. I mean, Zach Wilson's season this year was better than any single season Trevor Lawrence's.
The numbers point toward Wilson when you don't factor in like scouting reports and traits and stuff like that. Yeah. The numbers would point to Wilson. So I'm not. We should have Chris on the show at some point. I'm sure he's doing the rounds because he does have.
I'm 100% convinced he's doing the rounds after that list. To be honest, the more egregious name and position on that list was Kellen Mond being ahead of Justin Fields, as opposed to Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. I think the closer we get to the draft, the more people will have Zach Wilson above Trevor Lawrence. I don't agree with it, and I think it's very much the hipster's choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's some kudos to being that against the tide. You know, I know everyone wants to go here, but I'm going to go with this. I know it's worse, but I'm going to go with this because it's cooler.
It's just it's easier to do 3 years removed from, again, his podcast partner over there, I believe at NBC, was like, well, look at the recent years. Mahomes was the consensus number 3, and Josh Allen was the consensus number 5, and Lamar Jackson was the consensus number 5. Allen was 4, and Lamar was 5. Like, all the consensus guys weren't really panning out. So, look, whatever. It's fine. Do what you want to do. I think the Jags should take Trevor Lawrence. They're in an incredible position with the most cap space in the NFL. And then here's what they have from a draft standpoint. 2 firsts. 1, obviously, in 25. Then they have 33 and 45 in the second round. And then they have pick 65. So 5 picks in the top 65. So beyond Trevor Lawrence, they're getting 4 other top 65 players in this draft. In theory, what an incredible spot to be in. Now, their needs are all in the worst spots, pretty much, right? Cornerback, massive need. Defensive line needs help. Receivers in a pretty good spot, but you'd want to, continue to add to that. And then the offensive line hasn't been all that great, and they don't have a starting left tackle at the moment. So there's a lot of needs to fill for the Jags.
For the Jags, by the way, with the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, I guess, in that conversation, and Zach Wilson conversation, I think there's massive value to the Jags more than some other teams of massive value to the safety that Trevor Lawrence is. So, okay, if you're remove everything you know about all these guys, if you were looking at which one has the most upside or which one has the highest potential, I think you could make a reasonable argument that Wilson has a higher percentage that he could reach than Trevor Lawrence does. But if you're looking at range of outcomes and how likely a guy is to hit their 75th percentile of outcomes or whatever, I think Lawrence's floor has to be higher. Like just the certainty, the multiple years, the SEC, the pedigree coming out of high school, just the assuredness that he's going to be good has to be worth something for a team like Jacksonville, who A, is trying to rebuild this thing from the ground up, and B, has a coach in Urban Meyer coming in wanting, like, he can't be taking massive gambles and fail, right? Yeah. More than anybody. This is a guy that does not want to be crapping out of his NFL gig in a couple of years, slink back to college with his tail between his legs. Like, this is a guy who's moving to the pros, wanting to show that he can do this here as well, at which point you take the safest possible good quarterback you can, which is Trevor Lawrence.
Let me ask you this. We keep saying, hey, he's the best prospect since X. Mm-hmm. Say whatever you want. Andrew Luck, John Elway, what have you. How would you assess Andrew Luck's career? Was Andrew Luck a hit, or did he underwhelm and disappoint?
Both.
Perfect.
He was both a hit eventually and a guy that was not as good as he was billed coming out, which was the greatest prospect since X, right?
And in that same draft, here's what happened. Andrew Luck, the clear number 1. RG3 was the clear number 2. But even late in the process, Mike Mayock came out and said, actually, I'm going to put RG3 number 1. And after a year, remember just like we were talking about to Ryan Leaf a couple weeks ago, after 2 games, Ryan, it looked like you were the guy and Peyton was the guy that was the bust, right? That was only 2 games. But after a year, RG3 looked like the next big thing, and then he tapered off. And then the reality of the situation was Russell Wilson was the best quarterback from that class. Now, To your point on Luck, here's Luck's PFF grades through his career: 66 as a rookie, 77 and 79 in years 2 and 3. Both years went to the playoffs. He went to an AFC championship. So he was really good, and he was on a team. The offensive line wasn't great. He was dragging that Colts team. So those high 70s grades are probably better than they show in just, raw terms. Now, 2015, massive anomaly. This was like the Carson Wentz season. He had a 48 grade. He was terrible. He was playing hurt a little bit, but he was just bad overall. Bad, disappointing. And then he randomly bounces back in 16 with a 90 grade, misses all of 2017, and then has a 91 grade in 18. So your point, eventually he got there, right? I would not be surprised if Trevor Lawrence had a similar career path, minus the 2015 craziness.
I think it's actually a great comparison because, look, the one bad year in there, I think was very injury-driven and wasn't helped out by extenuating circumstances as well. But if you essentially look at his career and say, at no point was he bad, and he was always a positive influence on the team, and he helped them win a lot of games that they shouldn't have won otherwise, that was the safety you were buying with the number 1 overall pick. It's like, okay, Russell Wilson, and even at the time, there were people that loved Russell Wilson, but the guy was 5'10" or whatever it is, so we don't want to go there. RG3, there were other options that may have a higher ceiling. RG3 in year 1 was better. Russell Wilson for his career has been better, but the risk was bigger. So Russell Wilson short, maybe he can't play at all at the next level. We got to stay away from that. We're not touching him until the 3rd round. RG3, okay, it might work out, but what if it goes wrong? What if he gets hurt? What if the style that he plays with isn't a long-lasting one? The point of that is, if you're a team like Indianapolis then, replacing Peyton Manning, or like Jacksonville now, you're paying for the certainty. Like Trevor Lawrence, there's a very, very small chance that he will just be bad from the outset. Sure, Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or whoever might be better over a long time, over a small time, but you're paying for the guarantee attached to Trevor Lawrence.
I also think the style between Lawrence and Luck is similar in that Luck always had, if you guys have Premium Stats 2.0, you can see this now, high percentage of big-time throws. So Luck's style, the reason why he didn't grade that well is because the turnover-worthy plays were just insane early in his career.
Yeah.
Playing for Bruce Arians in 2012, we already talked about how many. He had over 40 that season. That's common in the Arians system if you're not Tom Brady. But a lot of turnover-worthy plays. I don't know where Lawrence is going to land there. He's generally been a good decision maker, but I think the big-time throws are going to be there. So that's always been Luck's value. And the comparison between him and RG3 had a much better situation with a Shanahan, all the play action stuff. Russell Wilson, I think he's always been fantastic. I don't think he was ever like a game manager just because they had the Legion of Boom, but he always had that covering, right? He always had those games where he didn't have to carry a team. Luck had to carry them right from the get-go. So I think Luck had a really good career, right? I mean, he was good, and then he peaked in 16 and 18. I could see Lawrence being similar. So I think he's the guy. I think he'll be fine. He'll create these big play opportunities for this offense. Now it's about building around him and where they go elsewhere. If you have all of this money and all of this draft capital, we're always going to point you to what we feel are the most valuable positions. Revamp the secondary and add more receiving and tight end weapons, right?
Yeah. Yes. Where do you think they should go with that pick at the top of the 2nd round? Because that's always one of the most interesting spots in the entire draft to me. The first pick of the 2nd round. We have all the madness of round 1, and everyone takes a breath. We get
just 30. You're just saying just the pick 33.
Just the 33rd pick. We get to take a breath. Everyone gets to regroup. Come back at it tomorrow. Where do you go?
I think the board is going to be leaning toward there'll be a starting tackle candidate. So if they have pick 25, if they don't get a tackle at 25, I think the turn will be really interesting to see if they go tackle or receiver, or if one of our top corners drops. But like Kadarius Toney or Rondale Moore, in an Urban Meyer system is fascinating to me.
Even with
Laviska
Shenault there.
Yeah, I think Laviska can be like wide receiver too. I think he could be outside receiver that you do move around. He could do the jet sweep stuff, obviously, and all that stuff. But I think you're getting a different type with Kadarius Toney or Rondale Moore as well. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like San Francisco. Like, is Brandon Ayuk redundant to Deebo Samuel or just a bigger threat to the defense? I think the Jags can make them a bigger threat to the defense.
To me, that 33rd overall pick is always a fantastic spot to trade down and get more value.
But it never happens. Every year people say that, and then the team ends up staying.
Right. It seems to me that I think it's because of the same reason, right? Everyone goes, oh, you take the beat, you reset, you look what's available, and you're like, oh, you target your guy. And everyone wants to get to 33 so that they have essentially the first pick of what's remaining. But the team that's at 33 also wants the first pick, so they never actually get out of it. But if you're a team like Jacksonville that already has 2 first-round picks, I was already picked twice at that point. I think why would you not? Like, get out of there. You don't have to move far. Like, the chances are the teams that are wanting to get there are the teams that pick in the next 6 picks anyway, because otherwise those are the teams that will have been targeting players at that point. So jump back 6 spots, pick up an extra decent draft pick, and profit.
Using our board, a guy like Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU, 6'3", big-bodied receiver, to go with DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault also wouldn't be bad. So they don't need to get that shifty slot guy necessarily. I just want to get as many weapons as possible. The other guy that I think would be really good there is Pat Freiermuth from Penn State, right? Definitely need a tight end weapon in Jacksonville. I don't want to call him the best all-around tight end just because he's a better blocker than Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is in a different world as a playmaker, but Freiermuth is the best all-around option beyond that, and we don't have another tight end on the draft board. So Pitts is 9, Freiermuth is 41, Brevin Jordan is 95 on our draft board. Free agency is kind of hit or miss. I think there might be some, like David Njoku's available soon that Jacksonville should look at tight end, but he could be a really good top of the second round tight end, Freiermuth from Penn State.
Where do you think they should spend their money in free agency? Because this is a team that if you're picking Trevor Lawrence, you think you're going to solve the quarterback position. So you're motivated to deploy all of your resources now. Get good. Get a team around this guy that's capable of doing some things rather than exposing him to just being in a bad situation and potentially hampering or stifling his development. So where do you throw the resources in free agency?
You got to look at the secondary, obviously. I think I want another pass rusher opposite Josh Allen. I think the Jags, I think all of the edges that we say buyer beware on, not all of them, but like if they overpay for an edge, I'm less worried because of Jacksonville and the money that they have. I think they should definitely look at a Carl Lawson.
The Olivier Vernon contract. It's like, okay, we overpaid, but he's been a good player for us the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be fine. I mean, like if they overpaid a Trey Hendrickson, like I don't want to do that. I'm just less worried, I guess, if the Jags do that. Hassan Reddick, I think there's like a high upside play putting Reddick opposite Josh Allen. I think they should at least investigate those. I'd still rather get like a good deal out of those guys though than overpaying. But to me, they got to take shots at corner. Ronald Darby, I want to send everywhere, just like I want to send Will Fuller everywhere. But Ronald Darby opposite C.J. Henderson would be fantastic. Troy Hill. And Troy Hill gives you outside and slot versatility. They need both. So you can kind of put him in and see where the other – and then if you get a good outside corner in the draft or you get a good – look, if they got Troy Hill to play outside and my guy Elijah Molden in the draft to play in the slot, I like that as a combo. Just bring in secondary resources.
They'd be a really intriguing team for the William Jackson sweepstakes as well.
Yes.
Like William Jackson paired up with C.J. Henderson in terms of just athletes at cornerback is a pretty incredible duo. Now, if you can get consistent play out of both of them, that would be even better. But in terms of like just athleticism and pure talent, that would be a pretty crazy 1-2.
Then I might just do a mock draft right now and see what happens. So they signed William Jackson. Can I go into the mock draft simulator right now? Do we have time for this?
I mean, we have time. The question is, can you do that and still like maintain a train of thought and talk and things? Because otherwise that's going to be a problem.
Let's see
honestly, but they're the kind of team that has the resources to double dip at corner in free agency as well. Like if they went in the William Jackson sweepstakes and got a Troy Hill or one of the bunch of slot options, none of whom seems to be coming to free agency off their best year, whether it's Desmond King, Mike Hilton, who else have we got that's in the slot? Brian Poole. There's a ton of these guys that have got like really quality seasons in the past covering the slot. Nickel Roby-Coleman, none of whom are hitting free agency like off their best year. So I don't know if that means like the price will be down on all those guys, but if they like spent big money on a William Jackson and then like bargain basement signing for one of the top slot corners in the NFL, you could revamp the entire secondary in a month.
What about the safeties too? You look at all the safeties.
Yeah, I mean, safety is arguably the strongest position in the entire free agent group. And because of that, probably isn't going to be busting the market down. Like, you're going to have maybe one or two of those guys will get paid monster money, but there isn't much difference between the first two and the next two, or the two after that, to be honest. So, like, if you targeted the 4 or 5 best safety in the free agent group, you could get a really quality starter for presumably a lot less money than the guys that are signing 1-2.
Man, drafting for the Jags is pretty fun.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice picks.
I just got Trevor Lawrence, Trevon Moehrig, the top safety on our board with their second first-round pick out of TCU. I got Freiermuth on the top of the second, and I got some corner. I can't see the results right now. Got another corner. And then I got Greg Newsome later. I got 2 corners in there. So I revamped their secondary. They got a lot of options here. It's great. Jags fans should be excited.
Are they another team that there's to whom there is value of the certainty of like fixing left tackle or whatever with a draft pick, like trade? Do they trade for Orlando Brown and just try and guarantee left tackle?
Ooh, Orlando would be a good potential fit there. I would trade that second first rounder for Orlando Brown. Then you get the money to lock him up.
I don't think they're in the same spot as the Colts, where like winning for them is too far down the road for them to invest big money in Trent Williams. But Orlando Brown makes a lot of sense because that's a long-term thing. It's going to cost similar money and a draft pick, but he's younger. It's a long-term, he can be your left tackle for the next X number of years in a way Trent Williams probably can't.
I like it. Let me just wrap it up with this. Building around Trevor Lawrence. I keep saying Urban Meyer and the Rondell Moores and Kadarius Toney would be a great fit. Do we only want like vertical threats for Trevor Lawrence? Take advantage of the fact that he can, in my scouting report, he can attack every level of the field. I think vertical threats might be the way to go there.
Yeah, I don't think we only want them, but they couldn't hurt.
Oh, Dylan Raduns, I got second round starting tackle. Man, I got him a starting tackle, starting safety, starting tight end in the draft. That's realistic.
There you go.
Beyond
Fixed.
Trevor Lawrence.
Just go to the PFF mock draft sim and you can fix your team. You don't even need the podcast.
That's it.